Me mo bi akwaba eba Melodies TV so. Enra ye the breaking news bremo say Speaker of Parliament say omo the bill to President Akufo Addo enim na Akufo Addo koti court say ye the asem na court inti no bill no man yemfa mbrena no problem. Akufo Addo nso pese omo appointing ministers bi ma no. NDC fo nso the asem na court inti ono nso ministers enya dia wo be appointed. Na Endra what this idea neba na ndem hu ne se MPP for ene omunam radio so ni TV so na omo ka city Alban Bagbin no mu so is MPP for eya no mo ho asre eya no mo ho asre mu de mu feel say mo pe na metu ni bibia ye obi ye de ye mo pe no ye de the same thing ye for mo acha say mu su omo nam no mu su su ene it be very di Afenyo Markin the majority caucus letter tetentin a obetro ye ene Alban Bagbin de oye na enye Akufo Addo de oye ne de ono obumbra nanso Alban Bagbin de oye no ono mpe Ghana yi ene Ghana ya hweye na economy no ebebo a Alban Bagbin ono ne emfa nche no kansem a NDC for the response aba or say stop blaming Mr. Speaker and the NDC minority. Majority has fallen on its own dagger. Nti NDC for asemo mo kan ene say Munjai Alban Bagbin ene yen minority na mo boye din no. Na mwankasa eduro bone yeso utu obi eduro a ebi kawa no. Ti eduro bone a moto ye no eno na aka mo ano. Die nta na NDC for kasa yen kenkan. O say me ba the when is you let me maximize it and then try to read Mr. Mofanchame. Okay. Also, after falling on its own dagger in Parliament on Wednesday, our attention has been drawn to a mischievous statement issued by the Majority Caucus blaming the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament and the Minority Caucus for the development in Parliament. It is bizarre and unfortunate that the Majority Caucus accuses Mr. Speaker of arbitrariness and falsely claims that the Speaker and the minority are sabotaging so-called government business. I said the Majority Caucus is engaged in deliberate distortions and grand propaganda to whip up public sentiments against the Right Honourable Speaker and the Minority Caucus with these false claims. Inti nini na wotre se mo se kan ya mo de bae ena yahya asidi kamo ena mo nam na mo kasetia Alban Bagbin nsemo mo kan fa Alban Bagbin hu ni na no eye propaganda eye jandam mo pese Ghana for side with mu inti omo NDC phones omo betre wo mo nsem emu. Also, for the avoidance of doubt, we wish to respond to the claims of the Majority Caucus as follows. Also, there was no tax waiver business before the House. That claim by the Majority Caucus is false. Clearly, they intended smuggling the tax waivers into the last-minute business of the House. In its present form, we are opposed to these tax waivers. We have stated our opposition on these waivers, time without number. They are tainted with corruption and designed to siphon state resources into private pockets. As someone can say, majority for betro in Krata, no mo say the Alban Bagbin ye no enye. Se wama parliament, a suspended parliament, sandai, indefinitely no enye. Because na insem bebre wo ho also mo kan parliament. E bi ne say tax waivers ne say companies bi pese set up for Ghana no, ye be yi tax if you so. Ye be cho musika. Ena minority edi kan ka say, "Hey, business anaka ndra ye kwa akoye no, tax waivers bi anim." Inti we kra ma ye hu say na mo mbo pese mo twa ye ntro edi fechiri edi ba behim na ye yaka tra mo say sa tax waivers a mo pese ye ma tax waivers no eye krono nsem ene ye bo Ghana momo MPP for companies de mo pese ye de mo beti ato mo pese ye de to echechecheche mo na Ghana fon kan no ye bre inti ye de yaka say tax waivers no ye nye ti die ntia na wo beka say enra de ntia na Alban Bagbin or suspend the house no because nanka tax waivers business bekoso or say NDC ni yenim say tax waivers bia ba bekoso asemo a NDC for kanono or say it will interest Ghanaians to know that the finance committee neither considered these tax waivers nor were they advertised. The claim by the majority is therefore false and unfounded. 7th, the International Development Association loan referred to in the majority caucus's statement had earlier on been rejected by Parliament. The Committee on Works and Housing was subsequently tasked to inspect work on phase 1 of the $200 million drawdown on the said project. Into episode trim say, almost answer ka say, na komo ba be ye juma bi. I friend International Development Association for loan bia, busuyan bia ye kobo. Na wamo tre say, sa busuyan na wamo kwa kobo no. Ade bia earlier on no, Parliament no a rejected. Nti ende de ntia na wo be ka tre say, na ke juma ne ho e na Alban Bagbin. Amana ambaso nti Ghana economy go a Alban Bagbin na ye. O say sa nsem no mo ka na ye ndro. Omo hwepe public sentiment. Jandam propaganda enomoye. 8 points. Unfortunately, the Works and Housing Committee is yet to visit the site and report to the House on the Speaker's referral. It has come to our notice that the initial $200 million approved by Parliament for phase 1 of the project has not been accounted for. Typical of this government, the $200 million has been spent on reckless, wasteful, and corrupt activities. It cannot therefore be true that Parliament failed to consider the $150 million IDA loan when the committee has yet to generate a report for the consideration of the House. Or more evidence say now, the insolvency and restructuring bill, which was the only pending bill before the House on Wednesday, was read for the 3rd time and passed. But for the minority's usual impressive attendance in the chamber, the House would not have had the required numbers to pass this bill. Therefore, the majority's claim that the minority caucus conspired with Mr. Speaker to sabotage government business is false. This further exposes the deliberate falsehood and grand propaganda by the majority caucus. On the issue of president's nominees for ministerial and deputy ministerial positions, the Right Honourable Speaker took a cue from the precedent set by President Akufo Addo by responding accordingly and appropriately. So trim, almost trim the Alban Bagbin on your bonnet. Say ye de in some enkrata kwa kome Akufo Addo se won tintim so. Emra ye de akwa kome so tintim so. No si o ye de akwa court tintino. Mamo mfa mre ne krana. Alban Bagbin so be de na court. Say may approve Akufo Addo ministers. No so si o ya court tintino may approve ministers a. O se boni bi enim. Akufo Addo ade a wo ye no. Eno na Alban Bagbin so wahwemu a wesua. Nti die ntia ene ndem usu. Akufo Addo na atra Alban Bagbin. Abatro bi ejuma. No so aye ejuma ni bia. Ende usu. Sesen, enyo na atre no. The true states. The 11 points, right? The majority's caucus claim that the economy will suffer and that government business is being undermined is baseless, false, and untrue. The true state of our nation today on the watch of Akufo Addo government is that A, the economy has collapsed. B, the exchange rate is out of roof. C, lending rates are extremely high. D, business confidence is at an all-time low. E, youth unemployment has become a national security risk. F, inflation is still high. G, shrinkflation, where companies keep their prices the same but give you less of their product, is the order of the day. B, food inflation is alarming. So person address say na mo kasa ade we ya ye nti ebema economy na egu no NDC for say yentro na economy na egu de dada. Economy na egu. Exchange rate dollar no agensem ene obi pese obi adwuma wo Ghana kra na trese woni akukudro. Trese imebunu kra ni adwuma ye wo Ghana. Enyamabo sura na eko. Ene omo a omo nyamabo no omo emphasize ni bi nka ho kra no. Either say products no bete so. Ti emfa say dokono 5 cedis no still wage na 5 cedis na so dokono no ya ye ne keto asese eduane bo nso aye din maza no kwai ni food inflation die ne die etiefo no kwai ni nyame anim ni e serious o the food inflation that we are seeing in Ghana currently etiefo enya grow ele Ghana o pese o to jollof pack na o me a eje o spend from 70 to 100 cedis Obiana last 2 years, I had Jollof Park, no 15 cities, 20 cities, no, and they're just 70. Hey, me see, and now, omoye esuja for moto ejane wa abonte no. Senia ejane dio musika no. Also, never in the history of Ghana was a government so hyped up with massive goodwill and huge fiscal space enough to transform our country as this Akufo Addo Baumia government. Yet, this MPP government has gone down as the worst performing government in the history of Ghana. Finally, we salute the Right Honorable Speaker for his distinguished leadership and the very competent manner in which he continues to guide Parliament. And Minority Leader, Honorable Ato Forson, Doctor. Intino, and no, for comment box ni mo. For those who didn't listen or want to majority for the no, is one Afenyo Markin babesunya no media no to aso amamo. For me mo bibia kwaba eba Melodies TV so. Endra meka tremo ema moti ase se Alban Bagbin breaking news about the Bible until meka se President Akufo Addo say one sign anti-LGBTQ bill na omonso enya dia won be approve ni ministers because NDC MP de akwakodan Supreme Court me moti ase se Afenyo Markin bedwane aba na waba be defend Akufo Addo meka tremo. And indeed the majority caucus led by Afenyo Markin the statement ababa betuja na yankenkan nsemo a Afenyo Markin walker as a statement by the majority in Parliament concerning Right Honorable Speaker Bagbin's sole and arbitrary decision to adjourn the House Sunday without the approval of the President's ministerial nominees and the abandonment of other government businesses. Inti ose Alban Bagbin decision now will take you no or magana for atiase say e no kwanli decision say o adjourn Parliament one shade date say o adjourn Parliament a one country obiano me just say o de yankenkan ose today the 20th day of March 2024 is a sad day for our democracy by reason of the arbitrary decision of Right Honorable Speaker Bagbin, who was visibly annoyed that a letter from the office of the President informing the House about the injunctive processes in the Supreme Court relating to the transmission of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Bill 2024 is an affront to the dignity of Parliament and subversive of Ghana's democratic process. Inti Oshas ya no trim say, ende eye debia eya rehosem eya rehoda eya da wono ne ra hoyie nini na ne say Parliament de nsem koto President Akufo Addo enim na Akufo Addo say because of court injunction inti ma Parliament emfa enkrata ne nyeden emma meto nenim na wotie Alban Bagbin ne response a Akufo Addo de man no utubun say Alban Bagbin ka ho asem no na Alban Bagbin bu afu na wedwa or say the letter emanating from the office of the President and under the hand of Nana Bediachu Asante, Secretary to the President, in substance, pointed to the fact that the President, having regard to the pending suit number JI 9/2024, Richard Sky versus the Parliament of Ghana and the Attorney General, and suit number JI 13/2023, Dr. Amanda Odoi versus the Attorney General and the Speaker of Parliament, in the Supreme Court with their injunctive process, and that the House should not transmit the Human Sexual Rights and Family Value Bill 2024 to the President. Or see, the spirit of the President's letter is conclusive that the President is constitution-minded and will not undermine the Supreme Court of Ghana in its sacred role of administering justice. The President was in no way being dictatorial in his communication to Parliament, given the fact that the content of the letter was not binding on Mr. Speaker. Obeso Trim say, President Akufo Addo letter or de ebaye no. Akufo Addo de nanko onye bone because Akufo Addo ebu Ghana mra nso or say the asema kwa da eye Supreme Court. Na asem da Supreme Court na Akufo Addo say me pesa me de me ho ebe kan asem no ho because e was Supreme Court, ma Supreme Court in deciding wie na menka ebia me wo bibi kan menka sanfa ho a opese o kire say Akufo Addo nye boni bia ade Akufo Addo kan na nka nye boni a e wo say Alban Bagbin bufu na Akufo Addo kra no obu mra na Akufo Addo asema waka kire Alban Bagbin ne kra no enye say eye ohye because Akufo Addo ntumi nhye Alban Bagbin say onye de onu Akufo Addo wope nti enye ohye ba Akufo Addo no obugana mra asemo a majority kokose kanu no. I say Mr. Speaker, who has been out of the jurisdiction since Monday, occupied the chair this evening and used his high office to attack the president, who could not answer in the chamber. Mr. Speaker did not mince words at all in stating that the letter emanating from the office of the president is an affront to Parliament and a contemptuous behavior of the president. This and the president's previous conduct, Mr. Speaker forcefully argues, undermines the authority of Parliament and democratic governance. Obesa trese Alban Bagbin kra no ni Ghana. Monday ya na wo ba Ghana. Wo ba ya wa ba betenase. And Akufo Addo letter na wo de ba no. Akufo Addo amfe obuo ama Parliament. Nti asem a majority kokose ka no no. Alban Bagbin no ni Ghana. Wo ba ya na wo ba attack Akufo Addo. Say Akufo Addo ombu Parliament. Ene nyama a wo ka no onfo obuo ma Parliament. Nti obesa trese asem a Alban Bagbin ka fa Akufo Addo ho na nya sa neti. No problem. Or say the majority asserts in no uncertain terms that the president was being law-abiding by reason of the injunctive processes pending before the Supreme Court. Moreover, the president did not undermine the powers of the Supreme Court so as to bring the administration of justice into disrepute. Into a more majority no epese trese Akufo Addo di obu Supreme Court obu Ghana mra. Nti adia Akufo Addo ye no eyobuomu ensem na ode eye saade na enye se Akufo Addo be ya ade a ebu Supreme Court enimtia because asem akoda Supreme Court na Akufo Addo say yenje na Supreme Court nkan wi ansana ma yehu bibia se eyobo no de ma Supreme Court. Nti this is the thinking of the majority. Or say on every interpretation and permutation, the letter from the office of the president did not undermine the authority of Parliament as wrongly alleged by Mr. Speaker. Needless to say, the president's letter did not breach any provision of the Constitution, and significantly, Mr. Speaker could not misconstrue the same as a continuous attempt by the executive to circumvent the constitutional order. So the sort say, utre Akufo Addo nsem a wotro ye ebre Parliament no utre mu biara baby anywhere trese Akufo Addo e de ohye to Parliament so say ombu Parliament baby anywhere trese or say it is a matter of regret that Mr. Speaker arbitrarily and capriciously and on his own motion adjourned the House indefinitely without the House considering the ministerial nominees who have been vetted and reports on them duly laid for the consideration of the House. The Right Honorable Speaker premised his decision on a monumental error that in suit numbered JI 12-2024 filed on the 18th day of March 2024 between Roxanne Nelson Eche K. Dafiamekpo and versus the Speaker of Parliament and the Attorney General. An injunction has been filed in the Supreme Court restraining him and the House from vetting, considering, and approving the president's ministerial nominees. Even a casual reading of the Supreme Court action is clear that the Dafiamekpo action and the injunctive process related to what he conceived as revoked ministers who have been reshuffled into new ministries. It beggars belief that our distinguished speaker could not or did not want to appreciate what has been filed in the Supreme Court and which is very unconnected with the president's ministerial nominees who have been vetted and are waiting for the House to approve their nomination. The gargantuan contradiction of Mr. Speaker is that while he accuses Mr. President of respecting mere injunction application of yes, respecting mere injunction application, he will respect a mere injunction application whether or not it touches on Parliament's work. Intino, ono person tremu say President Akufo Addo, Osha, or person tre say President Akufo Addo, ono can say Supreme Court injunction that is going to mean signing a year anti-LGBTQ bill no. Majority ni person tre say Akufo Addo de obu webumbras ono de obumra obuganamra. Now Speaker of Parliament, ono so say NDC MP Roxanne Dafiamekpo akwa Supreme Court injunction eto wono Speaker of Parliament so say ma on approve MPP ministers no Alban Bagbin AD so no o say dabi eno de Alban Bagbin enti asem na se na nye saa na asem nete Akufo Addo de onu de obumbra na so Alban Bagbin na wono so ebu eye Supreme Court injunction so no o say ene de umbu enye embra eno obu na Alban Bagbin no onti ensem na se de ekoso no onti ase o say the upshot is that Mr. Speaker has torpedoed the government's work by depriving the president and Ghana of the able men and women who will assist him in running the government machinery. It is our humble belief that it is the Speaker who is undermining democracy and not Mr. President. So, person address adia Speaker Alban Bagbin na ye no. Ebema omo ananka Akufo Addo select say na nkomo mmra yembebo ejuma na Ghana empen ntuma pa emfra no. Ebema Ghana sebe omo ye able omo a ometumi ama Ghana akoso ye no afi omo nye ejuma because on person be approve omo no mo akoko da ni ministers nti ade a Alban Bagbin na ye no emwa na ye kan obi a sebe or undermining the democracy of Ghana Alban Bagbin na enye Akufo Addo because Alban Bagbin so ka say Akufo Addo is rather undermining the democracy of Ghana. So person say dabi enye Akufo Addo na Alban Bagbin mom. Now, 10th point, I say the decision of Mr. Speaker to adjourn the House without recourse to its members, especially the leadership, is most arbitrary, capricious, and undemocratic. The settled practice has always been that the leadership of the House guide the chair to conduct the business of the House. However, the Speaker aborted the work of the House when the following matters of which he was aware were pending as business of the day. Or say normally no answer na Speaker of Parliament ebe decide wa assembly aso no. On the leadership of the House kasa, on the majority kasa, on the minority kasa. No muni na ati ase say okay, and then the ye no any. Inti Alban Bagbin ni decision ya we take here or journey indefinitely Parliament no. Nanka Parliament ejuma nkomo say omobo eno na wo be list tax waivers. That is a tax waivers in Yumebi or one and come over and the Alban Bagbin na masa nyumani na ambaso. Laying of papers, consideration of bills, outstanding IDA facility, and approval of ministerial nominees. Ti nyuma bako 5 and anke parliament omo kwa akoye. And so Alban Bagbin adi awa yenti. Ebema Ghana kechi, ebema nyuma we ni nano, omu nyanye. 11. Or say the consequences are clear that the economy will suffer and government business will be undermined because of the pleasure of one man. Say ade Alban Bagbin aye ebema Ghana economy abre. Nti economy no Ghana for si economy ne sha ase say ya yemfa nhye Alban Bagbin na ono na waye. Alban Bagbin nipa ba ko penti. So person ono oni Akufo Addo nya asem person ogi ne ninti ade a wo ye no obema Ghana abre. This is what he's claiming. Or say the NDC minority who are in a feeble mood to come to power are very excited and supportive of Mr. Speaker. This is a conspiracy to sabotage the government. Mr. Speaker and the NDC deliberately misconstrued the letter from the office of the president to set an agenda to satisfy their parochial political interest. It is consistent with their avowed aim to put impediments in the way of the MPP's governance of the country. Was it not their failed agenda to reject the budget statement and economic policy of 2022 as a grand scheme to mislead Ghanaians so they would vote them into power? Into a person say NDC for epese ba abemu na so mo muni age because NDC for eni adwempa emo oman no. Omo de omo be ya omo be ma MPP aban no enimu egu ase na ya bo mu din bone na NDC for pe nti wo hwe ade we ya ba omoni age a saa na NDC for 2022 omo ye se budget no na ko mpe so mo reject nti adwenbone kwa na ahye NDC for etrim asem wo kan no. The NDC is bereft of ideas. They do not have any credible alternative solutions to the problems of international dimensions facing Ghana's economy. The poverty of the NDC's political posture is clear and obvious, and Ghanaians will not return them to power come December 2024, dated 20th March 2024. You know, this is coming from the majority caucus. Afenyo Markin, eho. Me mamoti asiya me katremo. They say Afenyo Markin the agenda enuhunti eni ede no eba beye the majority leader. Now he's playing to it very, very well. Montreal Madrid, our comment box, Nimo, Medasi.